What's up, you guys? This is Alex Ham here, and in today's video, I have a very special treat for you guys, as Gary Goldberg joins me on the podcast to talk about, a lot of stuff. Gary is the founder of Coastal Properties, which is one of the most successful boutique brokerages and property management firms in Southern California. He's pretty much cornered a large chunk of the Santa Barbara market. So if you're interested in getting into real estate, either on the sales side or perhaps on the management side, or really any other realm of the real estate world, you do not want to miss this episode. Gary is also a very successful real estate investor. He's done some developing as well. He's got rental properties throughout Santa Barbara County, as well as some out-of-state investments as well. And I want you guys to pay close attention to what he says at the very end of this video when I ask him about his investing philosophy. Because if you're wanting to get into real estate investing, but perhaps maybe you live in a more expensive market like California or New York, where it can feel a little bit overwhelming to come up with the down payment for that first rental property, you might just feel a little bit too out of reach. I want you to pay close attention to what he says at the end of this video because I think it's really, really going to help you as you get started on your journey. So without further ado, guys, let's just jump into it. If you guys like this video, I would really appreciate it if you guys would hit that like button down below. It would help me a tremendous amount with the YouTube algorithm as I continue to grow this channel. I would really, really, really appreciate it. That's really all I can ask of you if you do enjoy this video, is for you to smash that like button. And of course, if you enjoy this a lot and you want to get more cool content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. But other than that, let's just get into it. What's up, you guys? This is Alex Ham, and in today's video, I have the legendary Gary Goldberg here with me. Gary is the founder of Coastal Properties here in Santa Barbara, California, the beautiful Santa Barbara, California, that is. Gary, as I mentioned, the founder of Coastal Properties. He's also one of the most successful real estate brokers here in Santa Barbara County. He's also a real estate investor, an attorney, a professor, amongst other things. The real question is there anything that you don't do?
To be honest, no. I've even developed, I've built, I've done condos, I've done single-family homes. But what I do that's most important now is, coach my children in basketball, football, baseball, softball.
Yeah. Giving back as much as you can.
Yeah,
absolutely. And we'll get into that some as well. So kind of give us, so I gave a little bit of a brief background right there. But kind of give us a quick backstory of you, your background, and really how you got started in real estate and kind of what inspired you to get into that.
Sure, Alex. I grew up in LA, went to undergrad here at Santa Barbara UCSB, so that kind of set the tone for where I felt was a quality of life place to live, although I'd only known Los Angeles and here. And then I went off to law school for 3 years and went back to Los Angeles to practice law at a big firm for a couple years. And it was almost an accident, and I can probably tell that story a little later in the show or maybe another episode. And by accident, kind of came back to Santa Barbara for one particular client who had a real estate need that caused me and a partner to start Coastal Properties. And that was 1994, and here we are 25, 26 years later, and I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah, still going strong.
Yep.
Cool, awesome. So correct me if I'm wrong here. So when you got into real estate, so you had been an attorney for 3 years, roughly 3 years. And then so when you first got started, did you just directly go into starting Coastal Properties with your partner? You knew you were going, the entrepreneurial brokerage route? Or did you start working under a brokerage at first as an agent?
Good question. No, when I was kind of transitioning into starting Coastal Properties, it was where I still practiced law in town here for a little while, working for another firm, and was kind of just one of the owners of Coastal Properties as it started, and was in the process of thinking, great, I'm in my late 20s at the time, been a lawyer 4 or 5 years. If I'm ever going to leave the practice of law and completely commit to an entrepreneurial venture such as Coastal Properties, I needed to do it before I was married, before I had children, before I bought a house, before I had an expensive car or any other, bad habits or long-term commitments. And so then I just went, I was like, I think I was 29, 28, and said, I'm going to go give Coastal Properties the commitment it needs for me, and goes transition from real estate law and business litigation into real estate sales and property management.
Cool. And that was 94, 95?
Well,
When was the full commitment?
I would say the company started in 94, and I really was working kind of part-time here, but practicing law for about a year or two. So I would say I really started committing about 96, 97.
When you fully made the commitment.
Yes.
So cool. Very cool. Awesome. So first of all, I have my notes here, guys. So I'm going to be taking some notes as well, as you guys should also be as well. This is a very smart man. So what I'm curious about, so everybody in real estate, obviously, especially as a broker, as an agent, people, are chasing the big commissions. That's a big deal. And that's why people are willing to particularly wait longer to get their business particularly started. So for you, I'm curious, how long did it take you when you first started kind of at least dabbling in real estate sales? Because I know those first 2 years, you were still just kind of dabbling before you made the full commitment. How long did it take you to make either, your first sale or your first lease, your first deal? How long did that take to come about?
So it might be a good time to better answer that question. I would give it a little more backstory. Okay. So when Coastal Properties originally started, it was a company called Coastal Getaways. And it was in 94, 95, 96 where we kept that name because we were providing vacation rentals.
That's right.
Kind of like VRBO and Airbnb before the internet existed. So we used to match people up by facsimile, information, or mailing photos of a house to people in FedEx mail to try to get them to commit to properties or vacation rentals.
That's crazy.
It was without the internet. You were taking 5 days or 7 days. People would mail in checks. None of this Venmo or Apple Pay or PayPal or anything like that. And so the first couple of years was no one in this town, because real estate market was really in the bottom, 94 to about 98, were able to sell their homes. So they needed to generate revenue. And so we came up with this concept of doing vacation rentals at a time where it really hadn't been popular before. So what I did then was handle real estate, rentals, property management, handling things that allowed clients to hold on to properties and not lose them to foreclosures or short sales or anything negative in that downturn of the market, and keep money coming in to carry the cost until the market would transition over, which we all know is a 7 to 10 year cycle.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was still practicing law a little bit to generate revenue, since the rentals don't make the same commission or the same earnings as sales. And then so to now come back to answering your question, finally in 98, I think it was, could have been 90, 98, I'm pretty sure it was 98, one of the clients who we managed their property finally said the market's starting to turn, and we started watching the market turn, and they need to sell. So they said, well, wait, you're a broker, you're a lawyer, I don't need to just hire a real estate agent, and you've been handling my property for 5 or 6 years now. And really, the reality is that I remember him saying that, and I thought to myself, well, that's nice, but it's only been 2 or 3 years.
Sure.
But what we did is we were able to then sell his house just like a normal, regular residential real estate sales company. What that led me to do with my partner is form Coastal Properties, and we kept Coastal Getaways as the rental side, and Coastal Properties was the sales division.
Got it.
A few years later, I don't remember exactly when, we went, well, there's no point in keeping two names. Everybody knows it's the same people and the same crew. So we just stuck with Coastal Properties, which was much more diversified sounding than Coastal Getaways. Although Coastal Getaways is a great sounding company and fun.
Yeah, but you're able to open it up a little bit more with Coastal Properties and do different elements of in the industry.
Absolutely. And that's when I figured out my niche was to be the sales side, and my partner was going to stick with the rental side, which is what she liked. Because after the first sale she did, she said to me one day, I will never do another sale. People are just so difficult and so hard to deal with, and they're so emotionally entrenched in transactions. She said, I never want to do another one. I want to do simple, old, basic management. And I said, great. I don't want those type of people myself as much. I want the sales type of people. Because I'm more the type A, she's more the type B. So and that's how we kind of divided the duties, and we're under one umbrella for many years, and we're still here.
Able to open up multiple streams of revenue there as well. So,
absolutely.
So that's super interesting to me, because I actually didn't know that. And for those of you guys that do not know, Gary was actually my real estate professor. He's taught me. I took, I think, a total of 3 of your real estate classes, I want to say.
I believe so.
At Santa Barbara City College. So he's actually the real estate professor at Santa Barbara City College as well, which we'll get to in a few minutes, because I'm curious of how he got into that as well. But what's interesting to me is, so it sounds like, because I didn't realize that really for the first couple years it was just strictly the vacation rentals management business. So you're a strict really entrepreneur looking for gaps in the market and then filling those. Because as you mentioned, from 94 to 98, the home sales were really not there. So if you had just tried to go into real estate and as a real estate broker, as an agent trying to sell homes, probably wouldn't have worked out nearly as well. You more so saw an opportunity in a business, and then you kind of took that opportunity. You got into the real estate business, but you didn't just go into the normal route. You kind of saw an opportunity and then
there was a niche.
That opportunity.
There was a niche that needed to be covered.
Yeah.
And we pounced on it. What we discovered in our first year or two is lots of other agents never wanted to touch rentals, and so they suddenly went, wow, there's somebody in town who's willing to deal with the hassle, the low pay, and the difficulties of a thankless property management job, particularly a very time-sensitive and low-paying vacation rental division.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were passing us, clients, or referring people to us, or suggesting we meet with some of their clients who were having problems selling, or they couldn't sell, or they needed the income but didn't want to sell.
Yeah.
And so we filled that niche. And within a couple of years, I realized the niche, as the market for sales took over, that my partner at the time could stay with that niche, and I transitioned over to the sales side, which was kind of pushing entrepreneur level 1 into entrepreneur level 2.
Sure. Yeah. That's cool. That is very, very cool. Awesome. Cool. So so curious, so now that we've kind of gotten a little bit of your backstory as how you got started. Obviously, 94 is when it really got started, and then I know 98, 99 is when things really, really started to take off for you. You became that's when you kind of became Gary Goldberg here in Santa Barbara County, and if you're anywhere in Santa Barbara County, you know who Gary Goldberg is. So now you got into real estate investing. Obviously, as a real estate guy, you knew that was where it was at. That's where you knew your retirement was at. When did you make your first real estate investment? And can you talk to us about that a little bit?
Sure. I always knew, even growing up, that one of the best forms of building wealth was real estate investment. My mother came to this country as an immigrant from Italy, and just came to America, and always instilled with myself and my 4 other brothers and sisters opportunity for any type of jobs, any type of education, anywhere you want to go, you can go. And I always noticed that I was always drawn to real estate because I just knew, even as a teenager, that if someone else is paying you rent and they are covering your expenses, you are growing wealth while you sleep. And if you can get into the investment market, the sooner you get in, the better off you are, because at the age of 30, if you buy a property on a 30-year mortgage, at the age of 61, the property's paid off. Not only has it appreciated over those 30 years, someone else has made the payments, and you've hopefully had some positive cash flow during that simple investment time frame of 30 years. And then you have that opportunity to say, okay, I'm 61. Do I want to sell this investment, or now it's all positive cash flow, less than normal expenses of owning real estate, because there's no more debt? Or then do you leverage that debt again and transition into higher cash flow opportunities? Or do you use that as maybe down the line at 65, sell it in a situation where you're doing a seller carryback, and you create yourself an annuity by carrying a note for 10 to 30 years. And someone else, again, is still paying you while you sleep. So I just, for whatever reason, don't know how. No one else in my family had done real estate. We didn't grow up with much, but I just understood the business side, that if you can do something and earn revenue while you're not committing the hours, you're in a better position. And I just liked real estate better than the stocks and bond situation because there was a hard asset, and that asset appreciated it. And if it didn't appreciate or went down, as long as the rent was covering the mortgage, it didn't matter what the value of the property was. So I kind of did the math, when I was in high school and college, and said I want a real estate investment retirement portfolio.
That's the best kind of retirement portfolio.
Because when you do get into real estate sales, there is no retirement. There is no 401k. There is no whatever kind of plan you say. There is no pension. There's no one saying after 25 years you're going to get 80% of your salary for the rest of your life.
No one's looking out for you.
So if you don't create your own retirement, you will be selling real estate on a commission basis until you're 75 or 85 years old.
Until you die.
I don't want to do that.
Of course.
So I've constantly invested in real estate so that at my older years I'll be able to have and reap the benefits from my investments.
Gotcha. Cool. That's awesome. Yeah. And what I think is interesting about what he said there, and I study a lot of real estate investing, watch a lot of, YouTube videos and that type of stuff. But as he mentioned here, there's so many different things you can do with real estate. You mentioned you can, hang on to it. You can hang on to it and just have it provide you positive cash flow. You can sell it and then cash out. There's so many different things you can do with it. It's really kind of depends on your goals per se. And what you're looking to do with it, because there's so much. It's going to go up in value most likely over a long period of time. Real estate pretty much always goes up in value. So there's different things. As you mentioned, that annuity concept. I actually had never heard that one before.
Yeah.
So
you create your own annuity when you become a mortgage holder.
Yeah.
You're the bank, and someone's paying you every month for doing nothing.
For doing nothing, just while you sleep, just because you put in the work up front, acquire that property, and now all of a sudden it will continue to pay you dividends throughout, however long you want to hang on to it.
Or however long I'm able to live.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Or pay for college for 3 children and probably graduate school or medical school for one for sure right now. So.
Well, good thing you got those investments, right? That's certainly helpful. So there's so many different things you can do with it, and I find that very interesting. Just because there's so many people, a lot of people have their narrow philosophies with real estate, but would you agree that it does kind of depend on your particular goals, and you can do different things with it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just think people who get into real estate shouldn't be short-sighted and think that the only way they're going to generate revenue is by actually selling real estate or being a property manager. If you can figure out how to buy real estate while you're in real estate, you also save on commission. You're paying yourself when you buy a transaction. You're saving money when you sell a piece of real estate. Instantly, you get paid 2.5% or 3% just by buying it, by reducing the purchase price by your commission earned.
Yeah.
So it's a double bonus, in my opinion, to get into real estate as an investment opportunity. Yeah.
And you can do it. You don't have to be working in the real estate business as well. You can be doing really anything and then get into real estate investments. I think it's my personal opinion. I'm sure you'll agree that. Whatever you do for a living, however you make your money, putting that savings, that extra money into real estate is always going to pay off in the end. It really doesn't matter how you make your money.
Correct. But it should always be a bonus.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's something that I think everybody should get into regardless of what you do for a living. Cool. So I'm curious. Okay, so here's one thing that has been on my mind ever since I first met you, ever since I first started hearing about you and started taking your classes. So real estate investing, we're in California right now, where it's obviously a very, very expensive market, especially over the past couple of decades. Just pretty much every city in California has skyrocketed. So what I'm curious about is so you have a handful of investments here in the area, but starting some time ago, you started investing out of state. And that's interesting to me because I think a lot of people in California feel a little overwhelmed to get into real estate investing because it's so expensive. So what's been your experience investing out of state? Has that worked out for you per se, and was that a smarter move, or would you recommend people stay away from it and just stay closer to home? I'm just kind of curious to see your thoughts on that.
Another good question, Alex. I think the best thing people can do is just figure out what the affordability factor is for investing in real estate. If someone says to you, you can buy a $200,000 house in California, which I don't know where you could do that, but rent it for $1,500 a month, that would basically pencil. I'm oversimplifying this, but if you could take that same $200,000 and buy a duplex out of state, and each of those units rents for $900 a month, you're now making $1,800 a month.
Yeah.
And I try to then look for those states also where there's no sales tax.
Of course.
So that you're hopefully saving on that as well. But you can have something that not only pencils, but has positive cash flow. And lots of things in California for the regular beginner investor where you cannot put 30 or 40% down, and you're just trying to put 20 or 25% down, which is usually the minimum for an investment property, they don't pencil out. They're a negative cash flow.
Sure.
So you try to find opportunities somewhere else where you may say, I have to travel here once in a while, and those are also deductions or expenses that are associated with your ownership of that real estate, but they have to pencil. And once the property pencils, it doesn't matter to me whether that property is in Washington or Florida or somewhere else. I will say I try to stay away from heavy snow states
Yeah.
and big seasonal shift states, just because you tend to have typically higher maintenance.
Sure.
Now the cost of the properties are less usually in some of those areas, but I just don't want the maintenance involved and associated with 4 heavy seasons. I try to look for more, normal, non-big spectrum weather kind of areas.
Yes, something that's a little bit more predictable.
Yes.
Yeah, and have you found being out of state, because obviously you can't see it, you can't be near it all the time. So obviously you have to kind of find people, at least one person that you trust in that area. Have you found that it's relatively easy to just have that kind of run out of state when you're not there all the time? Or has that been stressful? Or I'm just kind of curious.
I can imagine for people who feel like they have to touch it,
Yeah.
it can be very stressful. But because I kind of started a company and have a property management division still, even though I'm not involved with it, I understand the importance of the property manager and the value of that person.
Yeah.
They are
Trusting
worth
that person.
every penny you pay them, and you should probably pay them more,
Yeah.
because you hopefully don't have to do anything but get an occasional phone call and see a direct deposit into your checking account every month, and they email you
Yep.
a bank statement, or they email you the homeowner statement each month.
Yep.
That's what I'm on. I'm on what I call cruise control, because I have really, really good property managers.
Yeah. So it's about finding that one person that you know you can count on and trust, and then after that, it's cruise control.
Absolutely.
So, very cool. Okay, so last question here, because I know Gary's got to go. He's a very busy man. For anybody that's looking to either get into real estate, let's go with real estate investing. Anybody looking to get into that, or real estate in general, what would be your tips or advice for someone that's just looking to get started?
Well, of course, before you get your license, you got to take 3 classes in California. Yep. And the sad thing is, Santa Barbara City College just took all of their real estate division online. So after 21 years of teaching there one night a week as a professor, I'm no longer employed, quote unquote, starting this fall. And I think it's a disservice to the public, because what you learn about real estate is much better learned in class and in person, and listening to the professors and listening to the history and the stories of what they do and teach and what they've done in their life. But you got to take those 3 classes, and then you have to decide. The key is to decide whether you're entrepreneurial more or entrepreneurial just a little bit less and need security. If you are a little bit less or a little more timid about it, you usually go to a big firm and you get phenomenal training at lots and lots of different big firms. Or if you really want to go for broke and hopefully you make a little more money because the commission splits are a little better, you work at a boutique firm. But training is key. You have to know yourself. But getting started is very difficult, because the typical realtor does not sell anything in their first year, or if they do, I think a study years ago showed that the National Association of Realtors said the average first year sales volume for a new realtor was 1.1 transaction. Yeah. Now after that, they jump up dramatically, because they hopefully laid the foundation in that first year. If they haven't laid that foundation, well, they may not be in the business long. Yeah. If they have, they can stay in it for like me. 26 years
as
now.
long as they want to.
As long as you want to.
Yeah.
And it gives you the freedom and independence of being very entrepreneurial your whole life, because you are in business for yourself when you sell real estate.
Control of your own time, yeah. And what about someone who's not working in real estate, has a different job but wants to get into real estate investing? What's one tip for them to get started?
Track the market of usually apartments or duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes in another area in the country where you might have family, you might have friends, or you've gone on vacation, or you've done anything where you think it's by a university or a college where there's going to be good housing. Rents tend to be high in certain places, and you just kind of balance out what the value of the real estate is, and just track it. With Zillow and Realtor.com now, it's really easy to track stuff. 15, 20 years ago, I was always on the phone, waiting for faxes, waiting for mail, waiting for people to call me as I was learning investments. Now, you can find out in 15 minutes.
Yeah, just using the internet. So.
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Gary Goldberg, thank you so much for doing this.
Alex,
appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, comments, or anybody wants to reach out to Gary, specifically people in the Santa Barbara area, because he's the man around here, there'll be a link down below. But other than that, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
So that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this video. And more importantly, I hope you got some sort of value from this. Gary is a very smart man, and I have already learned a tremendous amount from him. And again, if you're wanting to get in contact with him for any reason whatsoever, there will be a link down below in the description where you can do so. And again, I really appreciate you guys watching this whole video through. If you did enjoy this at least a little bit or got some sort of value from it, it would mean the world to me if you guys could smash that like button down below. It would really help me as I continue to grow this channel to get this content out to more people and help as many people as I can. And of course, if you want to see more cool content like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. And if you want to see, depending on what kind of content you want to see next, or who you want to see on the podcast next, go ahead and drop a comment down below in the description, and I'll see what kind of cool content I can pump out for you guys next. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Fresh Kid Z, Fresh Kid C, yes sir. Fresh Kid P, Fresh Kid T. Oh yeah, we back. Oh, and Zafoon, by the way. Yeah, Jones. Yeah. Chitty bang, and we pretty much amazing. Can we hear your new song, please? I got you. Hey yo, I once was a kid, all I had was a dream. More money, more problems when I